Hello again and welcome to Mordian Mondays, episode 17. So for those of you that are new to this series of videos, it is a essentially painting log of the Great Mordian Restoration Project. That is my effort to restore my pure infantry Mordian 50th Rifles army to their former glory. They're all very battered and broken and paint's flaking off them after 10 years of hard service, and so I've taken a pledge to repaint all of them, and that is almost 400 infantry and over 40 fighting vehicles. So massive project, but we are steaming ahead with it. It's doing all right. What I like to do with these videos is go through what I've been painting each week, because I use that as a bit of motivation for myself, but also a lot of you guys have said it's really motivating for your own painting projects, sort of paint along with me, and we all sort of share our weekly update progress, which I think is fantastic, and I love reading about the different bits and bobs that you guys have been painting. And it's also, I like to talk about some tactics that I've been mulling over, because whilst I'm painting, obviously I'm thinking, and I'm painting certain models that I want to use as I'm building my list up. And then we also do general sort of bit of fluff and tactics chat as well. So what am I painting today? So last week I gave you guys the option, what did you want to see? And the split was generally between the old Last Chancer metal command squad models and the officer models. Some people wanted to see the Baneblade Commander. So I figured I'll paint the command squad, because that's only 4 guys, and then I'll get the officers painted up as well. I didn't get the commissar done, unfortunately, but I did get 2 officers and a command squad done. So that's actually, that's pretty good. That's 6 guys. I like to take a lot of time and effort and a bit more fine detail when painting the officer models as well. So they do take a little bit longer. But that's another 6 infantry added to the pile this week. So going through the different models and what I plan to use for them. So I've got what I plan to do with them. Sorry, I've got a old Cadian lieutenant, and he's got the peaked cap, so he actually comes with that head, which makes it really easy to slot him straight into my Mordian army. And he comes with a power sword and a plasma pistol. Now I've started to really lean into the power sword tactics in my army. I know a lot of people say don't bother paying for them, but I've started equipping my assault infantry squads. Now obviously these aren't like Space Marine assault squads, these are just basic infantry squads which I've stuck an assault weapon and a power weapon in there. And I found more often than not that having those power swords really does add a significant amount of bite to a squad. And the last time I was able to use my Mordian army sort of en masse was when I was at a recent GW doubles tournament. And what I was able to do is I had my priest near 3 squads of infantry, and each one of those squads of infantry had a power sword. And I have to say, it really made a difference. And guard can be surprisingly nasty in close combat. And if you don't, what I would often find is from each squad, the regular rifle attacks would kill a guy or take a wound off. We're talking about a sort of marine equivalent model here. And then the power sword, because it's got 3 attacks on the sergeant when a priest is nearby, would tend to take off that last wound. Tend to do quite good. And for 4 points, it's a no-brainer, really. Now, I'm not saying you want to put power swords in every single one of your squads, but I'm saying if you're thinking of taking a more aggressive assault close combat based army, then yeah, you kind of have to take power weapons. It's the same sort of idea of if you were taking an all shooting guard army, you'd be putting heavy weapons everywhere you could, heavy bolters, las cannons, you'd be putting those in your squads. Same thing here. If you're going to go, you've got to have the right tools for the task. So if you're going to have close combat, you've got to make sure that you can do the close combat well. At the very least, you can hold your own. Now, I've also started playing with the idea of having plasma pistols in my assault squads as well. Now, I know that does essentially triple the cost of a sergeant. The sergeant's 4 points, power swords 4 points, and then power swords 5 points. So it does, you are looking at a 13-point sergeant, which is, expensive in guard terms. But I guess the reason I started looking at plasma pistols is because the assault squads need that little bit extra punch to soften up the enemy unit, and having like a melter gun or a flamer and then a plasma pistol as well does help you chip off that little bit of damage before you end up fixing bayonets and going in. So that's what I'm thinking. That's why I painted up this lieutenant, because I really like this model, because I could use it both as a lieutenant, power sword, plasma pistol, no problem. But I can also, if I think I'm going to be having my officers, I've only got a limited amount of orders, my officers sitting back and ordering people, this guy can very comfortably slot into a regular infantry squad and he'll look absolutely fine. He'll look absolutely fine. So he is able to be used sort of in a multi-purpose way, either as an officer or as a sergeant. Now, interestingly, taking a junior officer, and putting him next to a priest, that makes 3 power sword attacks plus 1 for the priest. That's 4 power sword attacks, and then he hits on 3s. So they are nasty little. I have always said hidden power swords are quite interesting, quite definitely models to be considered. Definitely a tactic to be considered. Hidden power swords in your officer units. The other officer I painted, some of you have noticed, is this guy with the trench coat and the shoulder cape and the gas mask and the interesting las pistol. This model is actually a gift given to me by one of my fans when I met up with them for a fan battle report. And this was given to me by Alex Smith, and really, really appreciative of that. Thank you so much, Alex, because it is a really, really cool model. And it comes, as Alex points out, it came on the little there'll probably be a proper name for this, but shoulder cloak. If you notice, it's like this iron medallion, like this star medallion. And what I want to use this for is as a character who has the Iron Star of Mordian relic, because it looks perfect for that, the Iron Star of Mordian relic. Which, for any of you that don't know what that does, because it's a little obscure, not many people take it, gives you a 4+ feel no pain, which is not insignificant at all. You don't have to take it on your warlord. You can just take this on. You can take it. You can spend the points to take an extra relic or two. CP, take an extra relic or two, and just take an Iron Star of Mordia. Why not? It definitely helps keep your order issuers around a bit longer. And if you think about having this guy and then Yarrick as well, you've got 2 guard characters there which have got significant feel no pain. So I know Yarrick doesn't kick in until he's a little injured, but still. That is a significant boost to the durability of your order-giving characters. So not to be underestimated, sorry. I mean, often, and also, what I tend to find is it's always good. There's always that temptation, and I know I fall for it as well. But there's always that temptation when you're building a new officer or when you're using a new character. You want to load them up with the cool upgrades, don't you? No, you want your heroes to be armed with, power swords, plasma pistols, power fists, and sometimes that is appropriate to do that because, well, 1, rule of cool, and 2, it can actually lead to some quite unorthodox tactics. But often what you want your officers to do is to be cheap as possible, support order buffers. That's what you want your officers to do. And so sometimes you just want that officer with a las pistol and chainsaw. That's all you want. You don't want to be messing around. And that is what this is. And I actually have surprisingly few characters in my army which I can do that with. All the classic Mordian metal officers, they've come with a bolter. Now, yeah, it's only 1 point, but sometimes you really don't have that point to spend. And a lot of my other characters come with power fists and power swords. So I think I have only a couple, including this one I painted up, of officers with just las pistol and chainsword, and very few of them. So it is good to have that option for when you go into a proper hardcore tournament and you can't be paying those fluff upgrade points, and you just need to be being as efficient as possible. You need to be able to pull out those characters which have just got just a las pistol, chainsword, or just a las pistol. So Once again, thank you very much, Alex. Really fantastic model, and I do plan on using him in most tournaments that I go to be honest, because he'll just be a good, efficient commander model. Now, the other models that you've seen flicking up here, there's 4 of them. 3 of them are the old Last Chances models, and I have to say I really regret not picking up the box set of Last Chances before Games Workshop discontinued them. And I have to say, Games Workshop, after painting these models, yeah, I really don't. Yeah, it's a real shame you discontinued them, because each one of them is so full of character. And what it made me realise whilst I was painting these unique, very, very unique models is, and some people, will agree with me with this next point, and some people will disagree with me. What it made me realise is Games Workshop, the current models, the new models they've been releasing, whilst they look very detailed, they really lack character. They're very smooth and they're very, sleek and cool looking, but they don't have a lot of individuality, what I've noticed anyway. And yes, there is individuality does come down to, you can convert them, you have to put that effort in yourself. Yeah, no, I totally get that. But with these Last Chances models, these aren't converted. These aren't converted. These are, monopose metal models. Even more monopose than the current Primaris range. And this is really what we're talking about. When I say current models, I'm really talking about Primaris. Whereas these guys have less options than Primaris, but ooze character. I mean, you've got the guy who's kneeling down, and if you take a look, if you look at the fine detail, he's got like a boonie hat on, which is you don't see anywhere else in 40k. He's got his sleeves rolled up, and if you look, the bottom of his pants are all frayed and tattered, and he's got a strip of rag around his lasgun. And interestingly, his lasgun is missing a power pack. And it's actually a las carbine. Even it's a tiny bit of difference, but it's a las carbine, not a las rifle. You can tell that because the barrel is longer and the body is shorter of the gun. And he's reloading and he's pulling out a new mag from his gun. And he's got a little. If you look around, he's got pouches, overlapping pouches, and a backpack with a rocket. In this case, I've gone for a mortar sticking out. But there's just absolute bunches of character in this one model. Why has he got tattered trousers and his sleeves rolled up? And then you go to the next mod. This is the guy now I'm talking about. You go to the next one, and he's got it's an ex-commissar. He's got that long trench coat, and he's got a pistol in one hand and a lasgun in another hand, which you never see anywhere else. And then he's got this long katana-like ceremonial sword. And he's got very little in the way of pouches and stuff. But, he's got that sash. And where did he get that sword from? Where did he get that sword from? Why is he... he's hip-firing a fucking, las carbine. That is so cool. He's dual-wielding. You never see that in other 40k models. You never see anyone dual-wielding. And this last guy... I think the first one's called Fingers. Second one's called Hero. This last guy's called Brains. And he's, again, he's running forward. But if you look at his jacket is completely different to the other 2 Last Chances. The first one had a ragged sort of field shirt almost. Second one had a big trench coat. This guy, he's got some sort of cool flying jacket on. He's got some cool flying jacket on. Which buttons right up to the top, and again he's got that las carbine, which is interesting in comparison to every other model having las rifles. And then he's just festooned with pouch. They've got so many pouches, and he's got these cables coming out the back of his head, and that one of the cables leads to like this respirator box or something, and the other 2 lead down to what looks like into the backpack, and another one leads from his comm piece into his backpack. Is that a Vox set? Maybe. Why would he have tubes going from the back of his head into his backpack? Is it some sort of telepathic Neuralink backpack? It could be. It's cool, you know. And he's got a bandolier of pouches and grenades, and it's just really cool. So you've got 3 models there, all which were from the same squad. You have to understand this. All of these models were from the same squad. The Last Chances. Yeah, and don't forget, are they glasses on his face? Are they sunglasses? Or are they like bionic eyes that have been linked directly onto his brain? Like you just don't know. But all 3 of these models have, for the same squad, look completely different. That's 3 unique sculpts, completely different. So much character, so much story you can go into each individual model. You just don't have that with the new Primaris range. It's too smooth. It's too sleek. It's not rough around the edges. There's little customization without having to put some serious effort in. And one of the big pluses of the current Guard range, I know a lot of people are saying new plastic Guard kits, and sounds crazy, but I'm almost there saying no, we don't want new plastic Guard kits, because there's so much that has been built up around the current Guard kit, the current Cadian Guardsman, that all it takes, what is so fantastic about the current Guard range is that a simple head swap. And because the kits are so interchangeable with other Guardsman kits and other just general GW kits, they're so interchangeable that with a couple, you don't even need to convert. You don't even need to be chopping and green stuffing or anything like that. All you're doing is doing a head swap, putting a different type of las rifle, different rifle arm, adding a close combat weapon to a squad. It's so easy to get a really unique looking Guard army these days just by doing Cadians with a head swap. And the Guard, like I said, the Guard kit is so interchangeable with the rest of the range, the Guardsman kit. It's crazy. We don't really want a new kit because the current kit is like a skeleton and you're able to add other bits onto it. And because the arms are not monopose, the models can go together in so many different ways. And all it takes is a little bit of chopping and changing, and you can just get really unique looking Guard squads. It's crazy. It's almost like the Guardsman kit is almost, in a funny sort of way, more customizable and interchangeable than the new Primaris kits, and that's mad. Yeah, the new Primaris kits on their own in a vacuum are amazing, but alongside the rest of it, not a huge amount. Not a huge amount. You start having I faced off in a recent tournament a couple of weeks ago. That trios one, I faced off against a Primaris army. It was all Primaris. I think there might have been some basic tactical units for screening at the back, but it was all Primaris. And it just looked. They had like 4 or 5 squads of Primaris, 10-man squads each one of them, and it just looked so monoposed, and I couldn't really tell the difference between the infiltrate. Sounds crazy, right? But there wasn't a huge difference between the infiltrators and the intercessors and the incursors. I mean, they all just looked like slightly different Bolter Marines. And my opponent had quite, he painted them up for the tournament, so he'd done quite a simple but effective colour scheme. I'm not poo-pooing his colour scheme, but because he hadn't gone into sort of the fine detail on the models, I kept having to ask him, like, so they're the incursors? No, they're the infiltrators. Okay, they're the infiltrators on the left flank. And it's just Bolter Marines, That's all it is. Slightly different variant of Bolter Marines. Like, it's not cool. What's cool is having special weapons and heavy weapons and sergeants with cool upgrades in your squads. That's what's cool. They're the heroes. It's just too bland. Anyway, it's gone off on a bit of a tangent with this Mordian Mondays. So the last model I want to talk about is that Cadian on parade. This is a model which I have wanted for probably since I started collecting Guard. It sounds crazy. Even though it's a current Cadian sculpt, this is a metal model. Crazy. And these were promotionally given out, I believe, at games day, like 1999, when the new Guard Cadian kits were previewed. And oh my god, I've wanted one for so long. I mean, it's interesting. You can see the difference between this kit and between this model and the current Cadians. Like, the knife is different, the pouches are different, the water bottle is different, the backpack slot is slightly different. But apart from that, it's pretty similar, to be honest. It's pretty similar. But yeah, I've always wanted one of these, and they are not cheap to get hold of. If you manage to see one on eBay, make sure you get it, because because they're a little piece of Guard history, and they're very, very cool. I'm just going to use them. Now, interestingly, I said I was going to use these guys as a command squad. Interestingly, I don't think I will, because the models are all kind of different. So what I actually plan on doing is using the guy who's on parade and the guy who's got the rocket backpack from the Last Chances. I'm going to use them in the mortar teams, because I've got a couple of guys in my converted Cadian mortar teams which don't really fit. Like, I've got a guy who's sort of running forward with a chainsaw. Why would he be in a mortar pit? You know, and I've got a guy with, you know, a medic bag. You know, again, why would he be in the mortar pit? So I'm definitely going to swap a couple of them out. But, you know, you definitely have a guy sort of standing at ease, ready before firing the mortars off. And obviously you've got the other guy who's basically got a backpack full of, they're meant to be rockets, but I've painted them up to the same colour as my mortar shells. And he's just there to add more, you know, mortar shells to the mortar. So yeah, so I think that, and then the other two, obviously the ex-commissar guy, he can just slot in a squad straight away, and the guy running forward, he just looks like an interesting Voxcaster guy. And what I like to do with those unique models, I like to put those unique models into my other squads, because it adds a little bit of uniqueness and stops all the squads from looking the same. That's why in one of my converted Cadian squads, I've got that Cadian medic model. Now, obviously, you can't take a medic in a regular Guard infantry squad, but I just use him. No one notices. He just looks cool, and he just adds a little bit of uniqueness to the squad. You know, that drummer guy in the last week's episode when I painted the drummer guy up. You know, he obviously doesn't have a drum. He's just got a knife, that guy, but he's just going to be used as a las gunner. You know, I've got a guy in another squad that I'm painting up now who's got a las gun over his shoulder, and then a las pistol and a knife. Now, obviously, you can't have las pistol and las gun, but it just adds uniqueness to the squad. And when you're painting an all infantry horde army, you can get away a little bit with those not quite legal models, because it just looks like another guy in a horde of 240 guys. So there we go, guys. That's what I've been working on. I know we went off on a bit of a tangent regarding the Primaris, but it really did strike me. You know, it really did strike me. I don't really want to do a Primaris rant video, and I'm not poo-pooing the Primaris. I know there's lots of people out there who love the models, and you know, everyone has their own personal taste. Don't get me wrong, but for me, I like the ability to customize my models quite extensively, but also quite easily. You know, if I'm doing 240, guy army, I don't want to be having to take huge amounts of time on each individual guide to convert them. You know, I need to be able to assembly line and smash these guys out. So, final count of the project. You know, sort of what you want to call it, like a sense check, is we've got 1, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, plus 96, 112, 118, 19, 20, 21, 121 guys painted up. We've got 121 guys painted up. In how many episodes? 121 guys in 16 episodes, is it? 17 episodes? 17 episodes. That's pretty good. That is pretty good. Yeah, so every week we're adding between 5 and 10 more guys. You know, if I stick to the average, on average, I'm doing about 10 guys a week. If I keep to that average, you know, it's only by the end of next year, I'll have painted all the infantry up, which is kind of the aim of the game. Anyway, hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. Please let me know what you guys have been working on. And of course, I'll see you guys next time.